So once again, we start with our basic position. This might be giving you a bit of a sense of where you're at now compared to the first time you did this. How much can you let your lower back drop a bit? What are your shoulders doing now with this little bit of movement? And then let's step out with that left foot and into our rocking motion. So by now you might be able to really scan through how your feet are moving across the floor, to really feel the massaging of the ground surface from the heel through to the balls of the feet, how that's connecting through the straightening and bending of your knees into the lower back. So there's a real sense of how all these pieces connect together. And of course, starting to really feel the engagement through your hands. We'll do two more. Just how that effect is. And then here we come with the last one, sinking into your right leg. Your left toe comes up, your foot comes in. There we go. Okay, the next one is bird flaps its wings. So you gather that ball of energy in front of the dantian and let it flick out as you go down onto the balls of your feet. And the heels slightly lift. And then the third time you go round and around and come in. So there's a real release of charge, and in here it's a little slower because you're gathering the charge. It's kind of the resistance. Makes it a little slower to come in, and then out, around, and in. Release, release, and around, and then come up, above, and down. Good. Okay, so now we do our first forward stepping motion. So into the right foot, that left foot comes forward, your hands come up somewhere, and I'm just going to make sure you've got that sense of just about somewhere comfortable, just about here, in front of your chest. And over your forward foot. As you come back, over your back foot. The back heel comes up as that back leg straightens. Front toe comes up as the front leg straightens. And then really, once you get that, see if you can see how that helps you connect down into this whole dantian area. One more time around after this. Come back and forward. And resting position. And then sinking into the left leg, right foot comes forward and over the front leg. So now you're reversing the platter. So this movement is the first time you meet that going down through the heels of your hand that we were just exploring with the tafis, where you anchor down that back leg. So this is a real chance to start to get the sense of how you're engaging as you go forward. And really starting to awaken the energetic awareness of how your hands function. From the heels of your hands through your wrists and up through your arms into your shoulders. We'll do 2 more. And back. And then the platter variation. So sink again, left foot comes forward, and gather that charge and release it. And once again, I'll just turn to my side so that you can kind of see the level that my hands are coming out. If your arms don't go up this high, that's fine. But if you're able, just kind of get the feel of what it's like to kind of come out right out of the front of that kind of hollow in front of your shoulder, or just below that level, somewhere in there. And we'll do 2 more. Trailing the fingers back. The last time through. And stepping back. And here comes the second side. Yeah, it's looking good, those of you who I can see. And one more time around. And back. Now we come to the bass drum. So stepping forward again, hands coming up, finding where you get that sense of pretty flat hands and getting that sense of connection between them, and then forward, fingers to the ceiling, fingers to the floor. So in each of these movements, there's always the possibility of also working open the wrists. Just check every once in a while and see whether you're getting the same kind of pacing as I am, and you can kind of see what it's like to drop into that groove. And if you're not quite going the same pace, you might be kind of curious about, you know, what happens when you go typically a little faster, but what's the difference between the 2 paces? We'll do 2 more. And back. And then the second side. Really let those fingers go toward the floor, toward the ceiling. Do 2 more again. And last time through. Now we'll go daughter in the mountaintop. So your hands just open simply. Foot comes forward. And the left hand is on the inside. One of the things that it's easy to do with this is to, as you come down, is to let your hands fold in. And rather, as much as you can keep them pretty much straight up and down until the very, until you can't maintain that gently anymore. And then they just start to open. So there's never like a folding in or closing of the wrist as you come down like this. Now the other thing that I want you to just take a chance to look at a little bit more, we'll just spend a couple of times through talking about this, is the feel of continuity and circularity. So it's not just with your hands, it's obvious in this case, but also in the forward back movement, so that it doesn't kind of go from a stopping point in the back and a stopping point in the front. There's a slowing down and a preparing for the moving back all the way through the movement at the back and at the front. So you really keep that sense of a gentle continuity, and we'll come forward one more time. And the arms come around because you want to get over top of your waist and down into your resting position. And then open again. And forward. Left hand on the inside. And you might just look down every once in a while and see whether you've got your knee coming forward pretty much over the front or the middle of your toes, and that it doesn't go past the toe. So when you look down, you want to just kind of see whether you can get the feel that your knee stops there. You may go forward a little further. It's almost like slightly launching yourself, but you're not kind of sinking by going too far forward with your knee and putting strain on it. You may notice that it puts a little bit more of an effect into your lower back when you do that. And back. And because we tend to often get twisted in our pelvis a little bit, you may notice a difference between how your knees track between the two sides. Let's just give you a chance to check on that as we come into the daughter in the valley. So hands up more up by your shoulders, sinking into that right foot, left foot forward, and down, gather that energy ball, draw it up through the center and release it as you come back. And then maybe just checking to see how your knee tracks, both whether it comes through the center of your foot, like say over the second or third toe, but also not too far forward. This kind of work, because it is so keeping you in the center of your body, tends to actually be regenerating for the knees, as long as you catch those places where you can drift into putting strain on them, or your habits have been putting strain on them. We'll call this 8, release, and it's gathering as you come back through here, and one last time. up and release. And close. I can feel my neck starting to crack and open up as my spine opens. And then hands up again, right foot forward, gather that charge. Draw it up and release it. Right as soon as you come around in that circle, in both these daughters, by the time you come out here, you're already starting to gather a charge in your hands. So that by the time you come and gather it between your hands, you've got a real sense of energetic engagement. We'll do 2 more. And around, gather that charge. Slower is always better with this. You'll get more nuances, more sense of engagement. Good. Now, here's the other movements that really start to do some good things for your knees, is to carry the ball to the side. So let's get ourselves wound up for that. I'm just going to come across to the side just a little bit and wind up, ball in front of my right shoulder, step out and across I come. That back hand is a little more substantial in the bottom part. 3 and up and in. Slight pause and sink and come around into your wind up again. So there's a lot of really nice twisting that happens in the knees with this movement. It really helps it seat itself into the joint a little bit more. And the 3rd time across. And one last time. The fingertips go down, the fingertips to the ceiling. So it's very much like bass drum in this one. And up and in. And then just the slightest rest and sink and wind up now to the left and out to the right. So now that left hand is a little more substantial here. And up and in. And again. Across and in. Gentle, just a slight breath of our breathing moment for that slight stopping and then across again. Letting that waist turn with the movement and up and into our resting position. Good. Okay, and then back to our forward back movements. So this is the push-pull. So as you come up and your left foot comes forward and those slight risings and sinkings, those turnings of your hands before you get to the end. I'm just going to turn sideways again for you so you can kind of see that. This will be number 8, forward, and one more time. And the second time through. So every single movement has kind of a curviness to it, you know, in a way that this movement doesn't push straight out. It's got a little bit of a dip and a rise on both the bottom and the top. It's got a turning on either end. It's got this continuity and circularity to it. And you might be starting to notice that the movement of your hands forward is really tied to that Dan Chen coming forward. And I'm just going to do a couple more times so that the last piece that I want you to get is that this backhand is a little more substantial, which I haven't mentioned up to now. One more time through. And back. Okay, now we'll do the pulling in of the energy. So you reverse your hands, come up, foot forward. So about the same level as the platter, just your hands reverse, so your hands might be just slightly lower. And then coming forward over the front leg, back over the back leg. And then feeling that energy through the fingertips as you draw back and move into that slightly heavy air feeling as you go forward. But really trying to get the focus in this one movement that has this focus of kind of connecting through the fingertips. So there's a real sense with this open palm that there's kind of an opening that happens within us when we turn our palms upward like this as well. Just let yourself feel the effect of that as your fingers lead the way, your fingertips lead the way. And we'll come around one more time. And back. Good. And then the second side, you sink as your hands rise, now over the front leg in the opposite direction. And you may notice that here, my hands, even though they're a little bit apart, are still close enough that there's a sense of connection, that they are like a tandem. And we'll come around one more time and back and close. Okay, so now we'll do our two toffees. So once again, we sweep and across. In and close. And across. So there's a very subtle difference in this one where the stopping isn't really happening here. It's just kind of a slowing down until you're almost stopped as you sink into the starting of the next movement. So right there. And across. And again. There. And resting. Okay, now let's see how we do with this anchor taffy. So here we go. Winding up again, but this time you turn on the ball of your foot and you step forward. Then the toe goes in. Come forward and back. And sideways. And sideways. Forward, toe falls in. And sideways. Let's try this one more time. Sinking, step forward, and then falling in. So there's a real step-by-step piece to this. That once you get them, they'll slowly flow together. You won't need to sort of take them apart, step one, step two, step three, but it's really useful at the beginning to get this sense of turning on the ball of your foot. Foot forward, toe falling in. Stepping forward, turning on your heel as you come back, until they just all start to get themselves into the sense of ease as your body awakens to the movements. And close. That now we're just going to do our standing position to come to the closing place. And so the left heel comes up, the hands come up with the left hand closer to you. And you can see if I stand, that the motion isn't out here, it isn't too close in here, just about at that level out where you can kind of let your head drop a bit and actually see through the hands, which you'd have to bend too much if it was in too close. So everything's just a kind of a comfortable kind of place about there. And then just give yourself a chance to kind of build your awareness for really noticing how this is for your feet. Both the right one that's supporting you more fully and the left one that you're feeling more through the balls of your feet, the pad of your foot, front pad. And then just kind of noticing the effect, like how does this organize your legs coming up on both sides and into your pelvis. And just the shift of weight that happens through your pelvis, of feeling more support through the right. This bit of a column comes up through the center and lengthens through the spine so that you can just let your chin drop just a little bit and feel what that might do, what that awakens in you. You just slightly unfocus your gaze through those fingers, and then finally your internal awareness goes down into the Dantian, which always tends to kind of reorganize my lower back a little bit. Just things that I hadn't noticed I was doing. We'll just do a slight readjustment, and then just take a chance to notice the whole of yourself, just what it's like to be here in this shape for a moment, and then just come down acknowledgement of the energy space that we are part of.